Hey tennis fans, it is another Tuesday greeting and welcome back to another episode with myself. I'm Nick McCarvel here in post-Easter, snowy Montana. She's Blair Henley in Texas, and we've got you guys, we have a fantastic show in store for you today, Blair. We're really excited. We got some great responses off the YourServe question. We're going to be serving those to you later in this show, and it is all part of episode 9 of Tennis Tuesday. Hi, Blair.
Hi, Nick. Good to be back with you guys again. I'm starting to really look forward to this. This gives me something to look forward to on a weekly basis. Hope you all are doing well, staying safe. We're building on last week's show. We had Mark Petchey and Francis Tiafoe joining us. We have another American men's player joining us today. He's held it down really for the last decade on the men's side. He is also an adopted Texan, as am I. John Isner, been ranked as high as number 8 in the world, is going to be joining us from his Dallas home today.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's 2 Texans, yourself and John Isner, along with me. We've got a good part of the country covered, and we've got a lot else to cover in this episode. We're going to get to John here, you guys, pretty soon. But Blair, we're also going to be talking about a couple of the tennis challenges that went viral over this past week, including Roger Federer's and Andy Murray's. I know you liked both of those. We're going to be talking about a sister show, another tennis show that has come to the internet called Tennis United. It's been really cool to see the WTA and the ATP come together. That show co-hosted by Bethany Maddox-Sands and Vasek Pospisil. And it wouldn't be Tennis Tuesday in quarantine time in the life of COVID-19 and this pandemic without some sort of tennis schedule update. And we have got a update on, well, at least the wellness of the Rogers Cup, which in Montreal, they can say that they're going to see the tennis next year. Tennis Canada announcing that the Montreal event will not be held this year. It's going to be held next year. We're still waiting for a final word on Toronto, and we're going to, of course, talk about all of that. But Blair, as the graphic suggested, it's time for
the wellness check. Yeah, unfortunate wellness check there for Montreal. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later. But yes, we've made it a point, Nick, to check in with each other on a weekly basis. Hopefully you have your people who you could check in with. On my end, I would just like to present this for the record. This is the second ever cup of coffee ever made in my home. It's a latte. You probably can't see it without me spilling it. Not bad, if I must say so myself. If you were with us last week, you know that quarantine finally made me pull the trigger on a coffee machine that also makes lattes, and I am very happy with my purchase. Also have, through some research, located a wall that can be hit against, which, Nick, I know you know that my neighborhood wall got closed, as it should be, but also, you know, of course, I'm going to be responsible playing early morning or late in the evening. I don't want to encourage a bunch of people to be out playing tennis. On the flip side, for me, being able to get out there and hit a few balls really is it's good for my mental health. In fact, I was talking to Brad Gilbert this morning for another project I'm working on for Tennis Magazine. And he was saying something really interesting. If you've been following him on social, he's been all over whatever wall he can find around his house. But he told me that when he goes to say the Australian Open, which 17, 18 days, he said, I don't pick up a racket at all. I can't hit at all. But he brings a racket just to hold it in his hand in the hotel room, just to kind of switch between forehand and backhand grip, just to feel, which probably isn't super surprising for Brad Gilbert. The guy loves tennis, which we respect around here. But he said it's just part of his routine. It helps his psyche. Tennis has been part of his life since he was 3 years old. And that is kind of a way that he stays in touch even when he can't hit a ball. And so similar for me, obviously on a much lower scale, I love the game, and it's nice for me to be able to go out and hit a few balls. So gonna hopefully do that sometime this week.
I love that. And also I'm very proud of you on the coffee front. And is Tyler taking the dive with you as well?
Absolutely not. No, this is a solo project for me with the coffee. But thank you for your influence on that in my life. And of course, I want to know, Nick, how are you doing? What's new in your life?
Oh yeah, thanks. Well, plenty of coffee. I got some, there's a local coffee company here that's doing delivered mason jars of cold brew. So I got some cold brew to support a local business, which has been delicious. And then I usually chase that with some sort of cup of black coffee later in the afternoon. I haven't gotten there quite yet, but yeah, listen, thanks for checking in. You guys saw on the video from this last weekend, it was a snowy weekend in Montana. Actually, yesterday, we're recording this on Monday, on Easter Sunday, it was perfect weather or perfect snow to build snowmen. So I did that with my two nieces who have been here since the last week. And Blair, I'm learning a bit in childcare. Life has changed. It was quiet here for me in Montana the first few weeks. I've now got my brother's family here. I wouldn't want it any other way. But when like 9:30 rolls around, I am absolutely exhausted, and I'm not even like on the front line. I'm a bench warmer, right? I'm just one of the guys that's waiting to go in for my brother or his wife. So it's been really fun, obviously, to have them here. But yeah, life's changed just a little bit in that sense, obviously, with having the kids here. And otherwise, I got a really good workout in yesterday, so I'm trying to keep myself rolling in that sense too.
I love it. Quick follow up on that, Nick. If you have kids one day, are you going to be a disciplinarian or are you going to be the softie?
Both. I don't know. I mean, I'm a rule follower myself, right? I tend to be, so discipline is something I adhere to pretty well. But how about I'll get back to you on that one?
Fair enough. You have some time. So with that, should we go to our next segment?
Let's do it.
A little takeaway time. What are we going to cover first?
Yeah, well, first up, let's talk about those challenges, Blair, that really went viral over the last week. It was Roger Federer in his hat with the close to wall tap, quickly followed by Andy Murray and one of your favorites, Kim Sears, his wife, doing the 100 volley challenge. Those two blew up. Federer, of course, being Roger, he had people from all over the world, high caliber athletes who are known in their other sports doing it. I said Daniela Hantuchova did it in high heels, which was amazing. And then Murray kind of threw in that other twist, obviously, with the 100 volley challenge with a partner, which is great. And it kind of felt like it was the week when tennis Twitter or the tennis social media community like really came together, because not only were those challenges making waves, but people got involved with those and a lot of others too.
Yeah, there was, I think this one might have been started by Andy Lee, who is is he British or Australian show host who did that great Guess Who segment, the Guess Who segments during the Australian Open, which they were hilarious. He did, I don't know if he was the first to do it, but he hit the ball over his roof, ran through the house, caught the ball on the other side and fell into his pool. I got to say though, number one on this list for me, I've seen a few people attempt it, Jesse Levine. So grew up in South Florida, originally from Canada, played for the Florida Gators. He did it over his roof running. Okay, we've seen it. Then he did it in a very Canadian way with his rollerblades on. Rollerbladed through the house and caught the ball on the other side, which was definitely one of the most Canadian things I've seen this week. But that was a lot of fun to watch. There was this might qualify as the strangest one, the William Tell Challenge, started by the Wisconsin tennis team. They were hitting, which don't try this at home. They were hitting hitting apples off heads. So again, they gave each other some space. They weren't whoever had the apple was not facing the ball, obviously, but that was creative. And I went ahead. He didn't call it a challenge, but I called it a challenge. Grigor Dimitrov showed us his abs on an Instagram Live with Venus Williams. It was a hilarious moment. Venus fake fainted. They were, in fact, very impressive. But I made my own little TikTok challenge. I'm going to be working on my abs with Grigor Dimitrov on the what do you call it, the vision board with his abs on my vision board. They were impressive.
I mean, I think that everyone would like to have Grigor's abs, Venus included. That moment, I Chad, who is CC Smooth 13 on Twitter, he helps me. He's a photographer on tour. We know him pretty well. He lent me the video because he had taken it off of the stream. I tweeted it. It went bonkers, and I was like the 5th person to tweet it. So Venus has been so fun. I think those are daily workouts that Venus has been doing. I also loved your Grigor Dimitrov challenge was fantastic. I think we should show a little bit of that. But no, it really feels like this has been the week, obviously, that we've felt like tennis has really come together in a certain way. And Blair, that also has included the debut on Friday of Tennis United, which is the first time that either you and I can remember the two tours like really coming together, both of them even changing their logos to show that this show is going to be something that they're working on together.
If there was a way to succinctly put my reaction to this, it would be just like flashing a screenshot of the mind blown emoji. I mean, I worked for the ATP. I know many incredible people who currently work for the ATP. This is not something that has historically been, it's not like they've been thinking, hey, down the road, we'd love to do this. So to me, this was really a surprise. And I really think that at least some of it has to do with Andrea Gaudenzi, the new ATP chairman. I feel like the way that he has been speaking about really trying to have not just the men's and women's tour come together, but throw in the ITF and the different tennis federations. There seems to just be maybe a different mindset coming into 2020 as far as that's concerned. And I think the COVID-19 situation has maybe just accelerated that, which is great. Sounded like I had a little kid visiting me from behind, which is always possible. No, but I think that has something to do with it. I actually looked him up today. I knew that he was a successful businessman before, but he comes from the music and media world, which again, it's kind of like an entertainment product that he has obviously been very good at being able to throw out there to the world. And that is kind of what this is. There is incredible entertainment value in having the two tours come together. And look no further than Hopman Cup and how disappointed people were when that went away. So I mean, shocked, but so excited about where this could go in the future.
Blair, what was your favorite part of the debut episode of Tennis United?
Ooh, I personally like Bethany's towel collection. She
Oh my God.
Going through storage. And, you know, of course, fans always like love the chance to possibly get their hands on a tournament towel, and players notoriously take them from the locker room. But I mean, she had a full dining room table stacked like 10 deep. Pretty incredible. What about you?
Yeah, no, I just love the concept. Our friend Charlie Fox has been working on the show a little bit. It's really cool to see the two tours coming together. I loved the interaction, and like Bethany's so good with her banter. Vashik's got a little catching up to do with Bethany because she's just so good. Yeah. But I loved like Vashik chatting with Felix. I thought that was great. Felix Auger-Aliassime. I also loved Vashik checking in with Yannick Sinner, who's done his own Yannick Sinner pizza challenge. That was a couple weeks ago, which was weird but amazing. And I loved just kind of the general, I think you and I as hosts were always kind of like, what can we do to bring the players' personalities out of one another? And they do it so well with each other. So I think having Bethany and Vashik steer the ship, I thought that was really cool to see the way that they were bringing things out. I love the Donna Vekic interview, which was really cool. So I am very much looking forward to more Tennis Uniteds, and maybe at some point we should get Vashik and Bethany on Tennis Tuesday.
I am in. I would love to know some of the behind the scenes on that. And like you said, props to our friend Charlie Fox and Andreas Plastiris, who is the social media director at the ATP, has done a lot of work on that as well. So great things from a lot of people that we know really well. On the flip side, some disappointing news for Canada this week. The Montreal event for the women this year has been canceled due to the province of Quebec pretty much shutting things down till the end of August. You know this tournament better than I do. That's rough.
Yeah, it's hugely rough. And actually, the figure skating world championships were meant to be late last month in Montreal as well. And the Quebec government was the one that made the call. It wasn't up to the ISU, the figure skating body. It was up to the Quebec government. So I'm not totally surprised Blair. I'm sure Tennis Canada was probably wishing that they gave them a little bit more time because we're still, what, 4 months out from that event. And Tennis Canada actually putting out there that the combined Toronto and Montreal events is 90% of their operating budget. So that takes a, what, 45% hit as well, at least. And then it doesn't bode well for Toronto, right? Because the Toronto event meant to have the men this year. We just don't know. At this point, they haven't made an announcement about that. It's obviously in a different province. It's not in Quebec, so maybe they've got a little bit of work there to be done with Ontario government, I think it is. But for them overall, yeah, I mean, the hope is, and it just, the bigger thing is it just throws into not disarray, but it just makes the U.S. Open series itself that much more in question leading up to the U.S. Open.
I mean, so many questions, and I feel like it changes on the daily. There was an interesting story, and I'm going to forget which outlet, but it was widely shared, I think, the last couple of days about what it's going to take for sports to come back. And there was a line in there that said, it's actually probably going to be easier for golf and tennis because they're individual sports. And I'm like, clearly this author, great article otherwise, but clearly he doesn't know tennis, because when you have every player who has their own team, it's way easier to keep an MLB team in check domestically than it is to somehow monitor an international sport where each player has their own team of people around them. So I definitely think it's going to be harder for tennis probably than for other sports. And it's too bad. I feel sad for Tennis Canada and the Montreal fans. They will, however, get a chance to see Bianca, the defending champ, next year. So they're not going to actually continue, as of right now, they're not going to continue the rotation as they normally would. Next year, they will again have the women in Montreal, which is nice.
Yeah, which I think is a great move by Tennis Canada because that event has been so popular, especially the women draw awesome crowds in Montreal. So we're going to watch that space, obviously. And I like that you brought up when will tennis come back, because our guest this week is going to have some insight for us because John Isner is actually on the player council. We're going to be asking him about that. We're going to be asking him about life at home with Maddie, his wife, and his 2 kids, and so much more when Johnny Isner, he joins us next.
All right, a big welcome to John Isner, coming to us from Dallas, not too far away from where I am in Fort Worth. John, so good to see your face. I feel like we've missed everyone involved in the tennis world over the past month and a half or so, but we're going to start off by just asking how you're doing. Have you been able to play at all? How's the family? How are you feeling mentally?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing just fine. I've said this before. I mean, I have nothing to complain about. It's, sure, we're missing some tournaments right now, and I'm not being able to compete. But the most important thing is that we get our country and our world healed, and then we can return to normal after that. But I'm enjoying spending the time in Dallas. As you know, Blair, the weather has been pretty nice lately, so trying to get outside as much as I can with walks with the family and going for jogs and whatnot. So it hasn't been that bad. Of course, it's, it stinks to miss Indian Wells and Miami, tournaments like that. But as we know, we're missing a lot more tournaments than just those 2.
Yeah, John, I mean, it feels like weekly we're getting more announcements. Obviously, Montreal just announced that the women's event is not going to happen this summer. Obviously, that doesn't bode well for Toronto. We did want to ask you about your role on the player council and what kind of the discussion has. I know there's a lot of different group chats, but that maybe is the most important one, at least from my perspective, to know what's kind of the chatter among the guys right now.
Well, we have, there's different scenarios that we've been talking about, and it's all too hard to make a decision right now because it all depends on when we can come back, and we don't really hold the keys to that answer. It all depends on the country we're playing in. Hopefully come summertime we can get back on the court, but we don't know how well this situation will be resolved by then. So we've gone over some different scenarios of when we might be able to start, what it might look like, how we might, play those events. But it's all up in the air right now. We just don't know when we're going to get back. I mean, there's a very real possibility, and all of us are aware that we may not be playing this summer in America, and that would suck, of course. But I think we are bracing ourselves for that.
There was that announcement a couple weeks ago, and they've been building the field now in Madrid. They're trying out the virtual event, which John, I think you've signed up for that. Yeah, how's that going to go for you?
I don't think well. Clay court's not my best surface. I don't think it's my best surface in the video game world either. I believe I have to play with myself, or maybe I don't. I don't know, but I better have a good serve in that game, because I'm gonna get destroyed otherwise.
I love though that you're a good sport, and you were like, why not try?
Yeah, I know, it's cool. I'm happy to be invited. I'm glad that they thought of me. I know Rafa's going to be playing in it, and the field of virtual players is pretty strong. So hopefully we can put on a good show.
Love it. I'm curious, John, is there any part of you, having had a pretty incredible career, now being home with your wife and your 2 kids, enjoying home probably for the longest period of time, maybe ever, do you think at all of saying, hey, it's been a good ride, maybe I'm enjoying this, maybe I want to stay?
Look, I am enjoying my time at home, and it has been a great ride, but I would not want to go out like this. So look, I'm looking forward to getting back on the court, and I'm training as if I will be back on the court as soon as possible. I'm lifting as much weights as I can at home, and I'm riding the Peloton a lot as well. So I actually really feel like I'm staying in very good shape. I'm not letting myself go by any means. I have all the time in the world to work out, and my wife does the best job ever of taking care of our kids, and of course I'm helping out when I can, and but I've been able to help out a lot being at home. So again, I've been quarantined at home for a long time, and lots of daylight. So I've just been keeping myself very occupied with the kids and working out.
Great. Well, that's good news for us. We certainly want to see you around for as long as possible, holding it down for the American men. But you actually mentioned something. I had a question that I wanted to ask today, and you gave me my segue. You talk about the Peloton. As you know, as we've mentioned, I don't live far away. I have friends in Dallas. They have told me that they've spotted you at SoulCycle.
Oh yeah.
In the past. And it was hard for me to envision this, because does the seat go up that high? I spin. How does it work?
Well, I don't think it goes up high enough, but I definitely max it out. SoulCycle is one of the biggest ways I stay in shape off of the court. I think as much as I practice and play on hard courts, I'm not trying to, away from practice and away from playing matches, I'm not trying to run on the concrete that much. So I get off my feet and get on a bike. So I've really, really enjoyed my time at SoulCycle. When I'm home, I probably go there 3-4 times a week. Of course, that's not available right now, and that's why I've been riding on the Peloton a lot. I think it's a great workout, and it's super easy on the body. That's why everyone does it, and I'm no different. So I think it's a great way to stay in shape.
Love it. And of course, you were scheduled to have your first charity event on SMU courts in just like a week and a half or so. Obviously, that can't go ahead as planned, but what are the future plans for that? It's an awesome initiative.
Well, thank you, Blair, for asking. Again, we don't know exactly. Ideally, we would hold it in the fall sometime in our off season, but our off season could look different, because again, there are scenarios out there where we are playing in November and December. These are options that are on the table for us. So as far as nailing down a date for this inaugural event of mine and in our family foundation, we can't set that date just yet, which is kind of annoying. But again, everyone's dealing with this, and we're no different. So we would have, of course, and really liked to have put this on April 25th. but we're going to postpone it, and we will get it going sooner rather than later, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, John, we definitely want to stay posted on that. So when you know more, of course, let us know. I lost you guys for a little bit, but I think I'm back. John, I wanted to follow up with what Blair was saying of your time at home, obviously. Mm-hmm. But has it almost been a nice blessing in disguise, or do you feel like you're healing up the body in ways that you didn't have the opportunity to in the past?
No, I do. I mean, I do feel like I think everyone is getting this break, getting a chance to really heal their bodies. Tennis players are never really, or I think just athletes in general are never really 100%. You're always playing with something that's bothering you. Hopefully, when the tour resumes, all of us can be feeling close to 100%. So you got to use this time wisely. I think whoever, when we do get back to playing, it might be evident who has used this time wisely, who's taking care of themselves as best as they possibly could. And I'm trying to do that as best as I can. So it has been, it's been nice not having to pack for any trips. Packing stinks, and so we haven't been able to do that, and that's just fine. And my rackets have been in the closet for a long time. They can stay there a little bit longer, but hopefully I can get back to practicing soon.
Okay, John, Blair's going to close us up with, we have a weekly question that we put out to fans, but before she does that, I wanted to ask you, we loved the meme of you, Isner-Mahut. Who put that together? Because that was amazing.
I can't really, I know I was tagged on Instagram. I saw that on Instagram, and I probably should have given credit to someone. I just didn't think about it. I screenshot it, and I cut and cropped the pic, and I posted it on there. I didn't make that meme. I don't know how to do that. So I just saw it, thought it was really, really funny, and thought people would get a kick out of it. And it got some pretty good traction on Twitter.
Love it. And as Nick said, I'm going to close us out. John, we have a weekly question. We call it the YourServe question. And this week, I'm sure if you've been on social media, which it sounds like you have, everything is about the quarantine houses at the moment. Who do you want in your house? And so we did kind of like an a la carte. So if you could pick 4 players or tennis personalities, doesn't necessarily have to be people on tour now. 4 people for your quarantine house. Who are you picking and why?
Current or past?
Yep.
4 people. Wow. So I would be the 5th.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I think you gotta, for any situation like this, you gotta go with the greatest. So I'm gonna choose Serena as 1. I'm gonna take Roger as well, just because I know him, and I know him, obviously know him, but I know him very well, and he's hilarious. And then I'll take Pete Sampras and, I don't know if I want to go with another male. Probably Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi. Just goes to the rivalry those two had. I think it's pretty cool. So nice. Those 4 and myself, I think, would make for a pretty cool house.
I would have to agree. I would love to come visit if it happens in Dallas. You just give me a call. You know where to find me on Skype.
We'll do.
But John, we really appreciate you doing this. It's great to check in with you. You're just one of the best. You make our job easy when we're working on tour. So we appreciate that, and for you being here with us today.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Thanks, Blair.
So good to hear from John Isner. He certainly seems optimistic, has a great attitude as usual. I still want to see him on a spin bike. So I'm hoping that I can accomplish a photo of that at some point. I'll keep on him, but super nice of John to join us. And the last question we asked him was our YourServe question for the week. We asked you as well on Twitter. We wanted to know who was in your tennis quarantine house. Hang on.
Graphic, Blair.
And there's the graphic. Yeah. So who is in your house and why? Nick, let's start with you, and then we'll go to some of the fan answers.
Yeah, totally. Well, this was a fun one, and we got such a great response. You guys were so excited. We're hopefully going to hit the sweet spot like we did again this week. I'm going to go with, she was a popular one with a lot of you out there, Mary Carrillo, best storyteller in tennis. I'm also going to go with Gabriella Sabatini because she is such a throwback to me, and I've met her a couple times. She seems super chill, so I like the relaxed vibe in the house. I'm going to go with Billie Jean King because she's Billie, and I feel like her like iconic tracksuit that she has taken on in her later years would be perfect for lounging around the house. And then I'm going to go tennis hipster on my last person in my house, the man in the hat that sits in the Wimbledon player box, because Blair, you know he's got a lot of good stories, and I'm just gonna guess if you give him maybe a couple whiskey on the rocks, he's gonna let those stories fly.
The most tennis hipster answer you ever could have given is that group of four. But thank you for that. I loved that answer, Nick. I am slightly more mainstream with mine. I am going with Andy and Andy Murray, of course, and I guess not of course, because Roddick could be fun as well. But I'm going to go Andy Murray and Kim Sears. I want the couple in my house. I just think they seem fun. I feel like they have a really good sense of humor, which is what will get you through quarantine, right? And then I'm going to go with another duo from this past week. We've already talked about them today. Grigor and Venus. I think Venus would be hilarious no matter what. I think she's seen a lot in her day, and I think she would have some great stories as well. She just seems fun. And Grigor, I have randomly through work just spent a decent amount of time with him, probably more time with him maybe than most other players I've worked with. And he is, I don't have to tell you this, Nick, just the nicest, like the nicest. And again, there are a lot of players who are great, but there are few players, again, who you really feel like, who look you in the eye and who connect with you like, oh, hey, you're a person I see all the time. Good to see you again. And Grigor does that without fail. And he is, I mean, it's easy to forget how big of a name he is. And he just is really incredibly down to earth. I could tell more Grigor stories, but for those of you who think he looks like he's a nice guy on Instagram, I can tell you I have spent enough time with him where he could have been a jerk and he was not. He's just really nice. So we're going to have a combination of funny sense of humor and nice, and we're all going to get some good ab workouts in.
Yeah, you will. I love that house. That's a good house. Mine's gonna be next door to yours, so I'll bring the man in the hat from Wimbledon, and we can come over and have a good house party. Let's get to some of your serve responses. And Blair, we're actually going to start out with a friend of mine, Danny, on Twitter, saying that he wants Roger, Chrissy, Petkovic, and Monfils. You can't argue with that foursome.
No, and Petkovic was also a popular answer as well. Next is our friend Peter Tie Guy 84. He's going with Venus to work out with, of course, for the fashion, the home decor. Andy for the banter. Could be either Andy on that one. Alex de Menor to see what he's doing next inside the house. His social media has been hilarious. And Garbine Muguruza for dance parties. She's been killing it on TikTok.
I love that. Our friend Diane, who I was missing this last week in Charleston at Women Who Serve on Twitter, she's going for a fun house in the sense she's got Lena and JJ. I love that. Amelie for the wine and conversations. That's great. And Chrissy, she's covered the last three generations.
Next up is another friend of ours, Andy Taylor, otherwise known as the voice of Arthur Ashe Stadium. He said, hey, friends, didn't have to think long on this one. Number one, he goes with Gulbis for his raw, passive-aggressive sarcasm. Number two, Barbara Streetsova, no-filter counterpunch. Number three, Petkovic for knee-slapping Freudian analysis of pursuant chaos. And number four, Nadal, and this made me chuckle, obsessive-compulsive coordination of beverage service.
I feel like if someone won the YourServe competition this week, even though it's not a competition, Andy Taylor, congratulations. Chris Otto is another friend of ours. He works with Tennis Now. You should follow him on Twitter. I like this house. Tsitsipas, Sabalenka, Auger Aliassime, and Kasatkina. And I love his reasoning here, Blair. He really thought this through. You gave him kudos for that on Twitter. And I have to agree with him. Auger Aliassime, who was on the last episode, the first episode of Tennis United, just seems like a kind of soul that would be a positive asset to any quarantine team. Totally agree with you, Chris Otto.
Love it. Next up is our Laura, it looks like RMCB20. She's going with Novak Benoit pair, who is a solid choice if you've watched his Instagram lives with Stan Wawrinka, Naomi Osaka, and Simona Halep.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great house. If we go to Brandon next, he picks Federer, Arthur Ashe, who that was the only one I've seen out there on Arthur. That's a great choice. BJK, there we go. And Serena. I love his reasoning on Serena is that Serena's probably going to be Zooming with some pretty like A-listers. And so as a housemate, you could get in on that.
I love it. Let's see. Next is, let me find it. Jess. She's going with Roger, Andy Roddick, Mary Carrillo, and Venus. And I love that people are listing interior design as one of the reasons they should bring Venus in. It's great.
Next up is David on Twitter. 4 legends. He's going with Sampras, Chrissy Everett, Jim Courier, and I was surprised with this one, Sabine Lisicki. But Sabine hasn't been on tour recently, and she is known for that famous smile. I'm wondering if you're her housemate, would she give you the smile all day long? David, you're going to find out.
Yes. Hello to David, by the way. Tennis industry friend, our friend Bastian. Okay. He says Serena, Roger, Rafa, and Novak. That way I'll never run out of goat cheese. Golf clap.
Oh, Bastian, you went there. I loved this. This is another tennis industry friend, Mike McIntyre, who does the Tennis Canada podcast, or the podcast based up and around tennis in Canada. He's going with Serena and Sharapova on the women's side and Kyrgios and Nadal on the men's side. Mike took this a different direction, Blair, and I actually really appreciated it. He said, that would maintain the current level of chaos I'm experiencing mostly solo with 3 little ones. Mike, if that was your tennis house, good luck on that too.
Thoughts are with you, Mike. Next up is Rex. He says Raonic, Tsitsipas, Venus, and my favorite, Nick McCarvel, because he's probably got great stories, which I can confirm he does, Rex. This was not the only vote for Nick McCarvel. If I may just say, there were a few votes, few people who want Nick McCarvel to come hang during quarantine.
I mean, listen, Rex, I'll try to tell good stories, but if you want a good storyteller, Blair Henley is definitely your choice for your tennis house. Let's go to our friend Anna, who's saying that she wants to hang out with Roger, Andy Roddick, and Murray, and Rafa. So that's the boys' house with Anna. And I didn't realize that Rafa was a good cook, but Anna's saying that he's going to cook. Andy Taylor's saying that Rafa's going to serve the drinks. Does Rafa get any downtime here, guys?
I mean, probably Rafa wouldn't want the downtime. Let's be honest. Rafa, I can't imagine does much sitting and twiddling his thumbs. Alessandra, she says, Ali Risk, so kind and always would keep me laughing, which we can confirm on that as well. Ali's great. Bethany Maddox Sands, and I don't have the extended version of that. So.
I'm going to help you out here because that was my fault in the graphics department. Alessandra is saying that she'd also like to hang out with Roger Federer, Alessandra wants to work on her backhand, so Roger could help her. And Kim Clijsters. We haven't seen much Clijsters. That's a great choice. Knows her tennis, knows what it's like to come back, and she kicked my butt into better shape because of her return. So sorry there, Blair, but there's Alessandra's pick. And do you want to close us out here?
Sure. From Tina, she says Gail Monfils, Madison Keys, another cook, and gardener, thanks to social, we know that. Coco Gauff, because you need a young person, got to keep it young, and Serena, because she is the GOAT. Cannot argue with that.
You guys, those were fantastic. I had so much fun reading through them. I love that Chris Otto kind of led the charge, but then I love that people put thought into, they didn't avoid our why in the question, Blair, because that was one of the key components. And I know that there's been a lot of different social media posts out there about, accounts creating their own houses. Nick Kyrgios had that hilarious tweet where he said he would run away from the house that he was put in Australia and take an Uber to pick up Kokonakis. Though the YourServe fan questions or fan submissions were top notch. Well done, guys.
Yeah. Nick, that was so much fun, guys. It's been fun to stay in touch with all of you via the YourServe question. Give us one more chance to use our graphic today that we so carefully drew out with our markers. But we have another one coming up for you this coming week. This was courtesy of the mind of Nick McCarvel. He wants to know, as I do, is there a tennis treasure you have lying around the house, whether it's something that has a special memory attached to it or something you're especially proud of? You can see some old vintage tennis cans behind me. They probably look like they're growing out of my head every week, but it's the only place where I can sit in front of a window, guys. But we want to know what's your tennis treasure, and give us the story behind it. I'm excited to hear those responses. We will promo that again on our various social channels. Please like us if you're inclined to on Facebook, and you're probably following us on Twitter. We hope to stay in touch with what we're up to during the week. But another great episode. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, totally, Blair. Thank you. You guys, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in 1 week's time. Bye, guys.